Welcome to our Summer School 2022. So over the course of the next 10 weeks, I will be covering 5 questions regarding general insurance. So this is cool because this will benefit everyone and anyone who's preparing for the insurance licensing exam. This will cover general insurance for life, health, and property and casualty. Now, of course, we are Quick Learning School is a California provider. And so, of course, we tune our attention and most of what we share as far as exam prep is concerned to California. However, during the pandemic, we have found that people from other states have found us and have attended our study hall. And during the course of that time, they've taken our exam prep in our study hall and they have passed their exam. So yay. And so again, go over the next 10 weeks, I'm going to go over 5 questions on a weekly basis. On Friday, I'll release the videos in the morning. And, at some point, like in the beginning, 5 questions a week might not be much for some of you. However, if you are at the end of our 10-week summer school session, then you'll have 50 questions to review to help you pass the exam and more. Because as I cover each question, you're going to notice that I have kind of a teaching approach as we cover the questions. So I'm not just going to answer the questions and cover 5 questions on a weekly basis. I'm going to go in and cover more information as I discuss each question. Some questions I might not do that, and other questions I will. So let's get started because I want to keep this as brief as I can. I have a tendency to share because I want to give you as much as I possibly can in order to help you pass the exam the first time, or maybe the next time in case you've taken the exam more than once. And so let's start. This is the June 17th video. So just to document, please, as a reminder, use this information for exam prep purpose only. I'm not going to dig too deep. Every state, the insurance industry is regulated on primarily at a state level, of course, with the federal regulation as the watchdog and the overseer of the industry. And so always seek the specific laws that relate to your state. All right, so we're going to start off here at the beginning. Now, there's a lot of different interesting things. This question relates to producers, right? To the different types of individuals that may offer insurance products to the public or directly to the consumer. And so in this, for the purpose of this exam, this is going to at some point be somewhat of an outdated question. Now, I'm going to dig into this. This is my first one. So just have a little bit of patience with me. I'll get better as each week progresses. So all of the following, I'm just going to tell myself at the beginning and then I'll be a little bit more polished as we cover each week. So all of the following apply to an insurance broker, not an insurance agent except. So when you see the word insurance, I want you to think of property and casualty. So briefly, we divide the industry up into life, health, and then PNC, which is property and casualty. Property and casualty. And of course, life insurance, when you have a life agent license, that it gives you the authority to sell life insurance products and annuity products. When you have a health insurance license or an accident and health license or accident, health, and sickness license in the state of California, we just changed our license to life, accident, and health, and then include sickness. So regardless of whether it's any of those 3, right? Accident and health, sickness, that license gives you the authority as an agent to sell health insurance products, which includes like HMO, PPO coverage, group coverage. That may include like disability income, long-term care insurance, anything related to health insurance, right? And the ancillary benefits as well. Property and casualty gives you the authority to sell all other classes of insurance. Now, just an FYI, it's pretty standard across the states that the property and casualty exam is a much more challenging exam. And you've got to take a look at it, right? Life is one class of insurance, accident and health is another class of insurance, and property and casualty encompasses all other classes of insurance. And so then that means that you're talking about over 15 other classes of insurance that are included in property and casualty. So it's a lot of information. And property and casualty, the state pass ratio in California sits around 40%, and that's pretty standard across all states. So that means that if you're a property and casualty person or a person seeking a property and casualty license, 60% of those who take that exam, and of course, I don't want you to be that 60%, but 60% of the people who take that exam don't pass the first time. As a matter of fact, in the California data, if you take the exam again, the pass ratio actually falls below 40%. So it's really important that one, you pass the first time. And if you don't, that you actually do something different. And so if you're one of those individuals who didn't pass the first time, I do have like a failing forward fast video that you can watch on this channel. And I recommend that you watch it just to give you another perspective and another approach to help you prepare for the next time you take your licensing exam. So again, when you see the word insurance, think of the word insurance as exclusive to property and casualty. And in California, when it comes to property and casualty, there's three types of producers. So property and casualty, we have broker, solicitor, and agents. Now on the life and health side, we only have one type of producer. So for whether you're life and health, or life only, or accident and health only with sickness, the only type of producers we have over here are agents. So here's some key words to help you remember these things. So first of all, this is really cool. I'm going to start with the test taking strategy. And the test taking strategy, it has to do with the word accept. When you see the word accept in the question, I call those questions Sesame Street questions. I call them Sesame Street because if you remember, if you ever watch Sesame Street, they have this one little, I don't even know if they still have Sesame Street. I think they do. But if you ever watch Sesame Street, they usually have like this picture that shows up, and there's a picture of like 4 different items, and these 4 items, there's a song that goes to it, and these pictures are related to each other except for one. So the song goes something like this, like, all of these things are not like the other one, or one of these things doesn't belong. Can you tell me before I finish my song? And that's what the accept questions are asking. Actually, the acceptor questions are asking for what doesn't fit. So what's really cool is if you look at this question, check it out. Insured, insured, insured. And I know I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. And guess what? Insurer. So if they're asking an accept question, you're looking for the one that doesn't fit. So even if you had to guess what the answer was, you can guess and deduce the answer by saying, oh, okay, the broker is appointed by an insurer. Well, the broker represents the insured, and they can charge the insured a fee, and they work on behalf of the insured. So the one that doesn't fit is going to be the insurer. And another thing to remember is that agents, we say agents are appointed. And they're appointed by the insurer because they represent the insurer. Now, without digging too deep into it, you can learn more about the specifics of all of this by attending our study hall. You can register for that class. We offer it on a monthly basis, and I'll share more about that with you at the end of this video. But just know that I'm not going to dig too deep in it. I want to give you enough of the information that you can make some associations, and that you have enough of a foundation for that specific question that will help you answer other questions. So I hope that makes sense to you. Again, my goal is that you pass the exam, and I love to share, and I would just want to share this information over. This is like my little summer project. Every week I get to hang out and go over 5 questions, and again, go into them deep enough to where you get more than just the question, but you get a little bit of explanation, and then it helps you answer other questions as well. So here's the clean version of this question. All of the following apply to an insurance broker, not an insurance agent, except, of course, a broker is not appointed, right? Agents are appointed. Now, the next question, I'm not going to go too deep into this. And insurer, if you get this question, an insurer owned by a parent company that provides insurance to cover a parent company's loss exposure. You see parent. Now, how many of you are parents? If you are a parent, then the question is, are you captive to your kids, or your kids captive to you? I'm sure you want to believe that your kids are captive to you, but I don't have kids. And when I see parents and kids, I always think that the parents are captive to the kids and kind of do what the kids want. So when you see parent in the question, an insurer owned by a parent company that provides insurance to cover the parent company's loss exposure, look for captive insurer. Look for captive insurer. And that's just a definition. These are keywords to help you remember the answer if you happen to get a question that's related to a captive insurer. Now, this one's really cool because with this question, the answer's in the question. Now, if you take our exam prep or one-day cram course, or if you do study hall with us, one of the phrases that you'll hear myself and a lot of our other teachers say is words mean what they say. That is an accelerated learning philosophy, and it's also a test taking strategy. A lot of times you overthink the questions and you read too much into the questions, and you really want to take questions for face value. So an insurance company which is owned by individuals who purchase shares of stock. So right there, the answer is in the question, right? They share in the profits in proportion to shares owned, and vote for the board of directors is known as what type of insurer. So of course, if you're purchasing shares of stocks in the company, then guess what type of insurance company it is? It's a stock company. Now, I want to remind you that a mutual company also pays dividends. However, it pays dividends to its policyholders. Why? Because a mutual company is owned by its policyholders. So a couple of things just to help you. Stock insurer, of course, is owned by shareholders. If the board of directors vote for a payout of a dividend, the dividends are paid to the shareholders, and the shareholders, it is taxable when they receive the dividend. And what's the last characteristic of a stock insurer is that they issue non-participating policies. Now, on the other side of that, another type of life insurance company or insurance company is a mutual insurer. So some keywords to remember there, write this down if you're taking notes, that a mutual company is owned by its policyholders. It pays a policy dividend to its policyholders. The type of policies they typically issue are participating policies. Again, these are all keywords for mutual insurer. I'm not writing it down, but you write it down to help you remember. And the other thing to remember is that when a dividend is paid by a mutual company to its policyholders, that dividend is tax-free. It is considered a return of excess premium, and it is tax-free to its policyholder. Unlike a stock company, when a stock company pays a dividend to its shareholders, guess what? That is taxable. It's a return on investment. So this one's a cool one too. I like this one. Another except question. Hey, so loss retention is an effective risk management technique when all of the following conditions exist except. Now, remember, this question is asking about risk management. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the 5 ways of managing a risk. And we do have an acronym to help you remember. So risk management. Now, risk is really interesting. I love talking about risk. I know it's kind of strange, right? And however, like risk is the uncertainty of loss. It's the possibility of the loss. And, we take risk all the time. And if you look at I have a video where I talk about risk. And just to get back to the question, risk management, what are the 5 ways to manage a risk? So when we are faced with a risk, there's 5 ways to handle them. And we use the acronym STAR-R, like a pirate, right? STAR-R. Anyways, so we got sharing. You can share the risk. Transfer, and transfer is the method of managing a risk that we want our clients to use. Because when an individual or a business or a group of people transfer the risk, that means that they're giving it to someone else. And oftentimes when one is transferring a risk, you're buying insurance. The other way to manage a risk is to avoid, meaning you just don't do it, right? By avoiding the risk, then there's no potential for loss. Reducing a risk reduction, loss reduction, right? Risk reduction, loss reduction, in order to reduce the risk, basically, you're going to do things to mitigate the risk. You're going to do things, for example, you might live a healthier lifestyle to reduce the chances of getting sick, or you might be more aware and present when you drive. You're not on your cell phone. You make sure that your tires you don't have balding tires. You want to make sure that your brakes aren't squeaky, right? So those are different ways to reduce a risk. The other one, and this is what the question is asking about, that's loss retention. And with loss retention, sometimes it makes sense to keep the risk, like to hold it, to maintain it. And so it might make sense, like for the insured, to retain the risk. Now, you notice I say insured, I know it's insured, insured, insurer. Insured is the person who's being protected, and then the insurer is the insurance company. Now, the reason why I make the distinction between insured and insurer is because there's only 1 letter difference between them. And so by making the distinction, then it's more clear that I'm talking about the insured, not the insurer, which is the insurance company. So loss retention, like I said, makes sense when the insured is willing to assume the losses, when the losses are predictable, and when the worst possible loss is not serious. So if we look at the except questions, yes, one would retain a risk under these 3 conditions. However, if the probability of loss is unknown, so the key word here is unknown. If the probability of loss is unknown, you don't want to retain it. The last thing you want to do is retain it because you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. So I always equate this, like when I'm in class, like I say, oh, it's like going on a blind date, right? If you go on a blind date, like that risk is unknown, but you're not going to handle it by yourself. You're not going to retain that risk. You're going to find other ways to perhaps have a friend call you or come by and check on you, or you might control the environment in which you have this blind date or whatever it might be. So another one might be like going into this career, right? There's some uncertainty and there is risk in going into business for yourself. And sometimes we're not fully aware of all of the risks that might be involved. So because that risk is unknown, we might partner with someone else, or you might start by working with a company. You might find a mentor, again, to help reduce the risk. So you're not going to take it on by yourself, right? You're going to find other means to help manage the risk. So of course, if it's unknown, we're not going to retain it. And then sharing is made up of transfer and retain, right? So you're going to keep a part of it, and then you're going to transfer the other part. You're going to give it to someone else. What type of risk results in loss or no loss? Well, when we look at the definition, I'm going to define the risk, right? So there's three different ways to define a risk. One, uncertainty of loss, chance of loss, and possibility of loss. These are all different ways of defining a risk. I know there's a question that might be worded something like all the following pertain to risk except. And I'll go ahead and just cover that question. So you're getting a little bit of a bonus here. So all the following except, the exception would be the cause of a loss. Why? Because the cause of a loss is a peril. Cause of loss is not a risk. However, it is peril. Some examples of peril is like fire. You might have like a flood, right? That could be considered a peril. Tornadoes, hail. You might have something like earthquake, right? I feel the earth move under my feet. So earthquake, or you might have like in the landslide brings you down, right? So you might have a landslide. These are all, or this one right here too, a sinkhole. So all of these types of perils, these are massive land movements. And so I bring this up because in the property and casualty world, in California specifically, massive land movements is not covered. It's a common exclusion. And you would need to get earthquake coverage in order to cover those types of perils. And you've got to read the definitions, of course, of the policy to see what's covered and what's not covered under massive land movements. Again, cause of a loss, is peril. It is not a risk. Now, we just defined risk. Now let's talk about the two different types of risk. So the cool thing is that this answer can only be one of two, and that would, now we have a 50-50. It is either a speculative risk or a pure risk. And a pure risk is, well, let's talk about speculative first. A speculative risk results in loss or loss or gain. So again, a speculative risk might result in loss or gain. So an example of a speculative risk is like gambling. How many of you like to gamble? Personally, I like to play craps and baccarat. Those are my two favorite. So, and every once in a while I like to play the roulette table. Anyways, I don't gamble too much these days, but because, I don't really like to lose. So again, a speculative risk results in loss or gain, gambling, investing, right? Now, a pure risk results in loss or no loss. Now, that seems kind of strange to say that, right? Loss or no loss. Well, the way I describe it in class is, it's like, for example, we all know that driving's a risk, isn't it? As soon as you get in your car, you're like relying on hundreds of people that you pass on the road are going to follow the same rules that you do. And if something happens, then that's a loss, right? And it's a pure risk because it's either going to result in loss or no loss, meaning that as soon as I get in my car, if I get to my destination, yay, no loss. If I don't get to my destination, I get delayed because of a fender bender or because, somebody ran into me. Fender bender meaning I hit someone or they hit me, whatever the case might be, then that would result in a loss, right? So a pure risk results in loss or no loss. And it is the only type of risk that is insurable. We do not insure speculative risks. We insure pure risk, which results in loss or no loss. And, when you talk about risk, I know that like in the California exam, feedback that we've gotten, you might see like about 3 to 4 questions on risk. And of course, insurance is all about risk. A lot of times when you take an insurance class, they don't call it insurance. They might call it like risk management. And one of the ways to manage the risk is by buying insurance, right? So here's a clean copy of this question with the answer. So what type of risk results in loss or no loss? A pure risk. So we're coming to the completion of our 5 questions for this week. And I just want to invite you to stay in touch with me or with us. Subscribe to our channel, join us for our monthly study hall or our live virtual classroom. The study hall, just a brief explanation, over the course of 2 weeks, if it's life and health, it's Monday, it's usually 3 days, couple hours each day. I won't give you the specific of the dates because of the calendar. It might vary. Property and casualty, because it is a little bit more of a challenging exam, that runs 2 weeks, and that's again 2 hours a day, but it's 4 hours 4 days a week. So usually it's Monday through Thursday, and then the following Monday for the cram course, the 1-day cram course. And then for the life and health, we usually meet 3, and then we end on a Saturday with the 1-day cram course. And it's fun, it's engaging. We do go over like some key concepts that'll give you the most information to help you prepare for your exam. We go over test taking strategies. I pass out in the life and health class, I do send out like class notes. We have an email thread for you and your classmates to stay in touch and to share with each other, ask any questions of one another, or you can ask questions of me. And you can check us out at quicklearningschool.com. And if you have any questions about the questions, if you just have any questions in general, please ask the questions in the comments below. That way everyone can benefit from your question, and it just creates more community, right? So thank you so much for your time and attention. Again, subscribe if you're enjoying the material. That way you get notification of our next video. And I look forward to, I won't see you directly, but I look forward to you getting more information to help you pass your exam. All right, enjoy the rest of your day.